Warframe is about space ninjas. A simple concept, but behind the third-person looter shooter is a sci-fi tale of greed, betrayal, and rebellion. Oh, and Clem. This is the story of Warframe. The Orcan Empire was the height of human civilization, though somewhat post-human since they had advances in genetic technologies. The Orcan had extended their own lifespans even to the point of cheating death. They cloned their workforces from advanced careers in science and technology, all the way down to slave labor with limited intelligence for easy control. But they strived most for expanding the physical reach of the Empire. Terraforming and genetic modification were in normal use even on Earth, itself possibly even furthering the need for expanse. But the biggest challenge seemed to be galactic travel itself. The Orcan created ships capable of making the fold, presumably some type of technology that could bend space-time to travel large distances. It is, however, not really clear if the Orcan knew exactly what was in the fold. The Void, an alternate dimension they would later refer to as a blinding hellspace, and they were about to get their first encounter with its mysteries. The Warframe'in Hikayesi, an Orcan ship capable of making the fold, was lost traveling between Saturn and the Outer Gates. Documented as mechanical failure, it was assumed that the ship was lost forever. However, the Warframe'in ship was later found completely intact and undamaged. Security officers boarded the ship, unable to locate its crew, but the ship wasn't empty. An officer found children aboard the ship even though there was no record of them being amongst the crew when it departed, and when that security officer broke protocol to make contact with one of the kids, she was injured with severe burns. The discovered children were considered freaks by the Orcan, who favored perfection above most things. They shunned them as devils and ordered them to be executed, but a scientist named Margulis resisted.
What they need, Margulis, is to be destroyed. They're devils from that hell. Not human anymore.
No, Paulus, no more destruction. We could heal them. Maybe they're meant to save us. They won't hurt anyone. I just need more time.
She developed a motherly connection with the children and insisted they can contain their condition through transference, a process that will place their consciousness in safer surrogate bodies or conduits of sorts. Bayless, an Orcan executor, tries to convince her to kill the children, but she refuses.
So shame on you! You Orcan! So perfect on the outside, but you're rotted through and through!
Margulis is then executed, but the Warframe'in children actually survived. But even the Orcan's dogmatic ways weren't enough to resist a weapon of such power. The Orcan's real challenge to achieving intergalactic travel is pre-colonization. The Orcan, feeling rushed to colonize for some unstated reason, turned their attention to the Tau system. The Corpus, a subclass of the Orcans serving as scientists and other skilled labor, developed a technology capable of exploration and functioning tasks in deep space. They were built to survive and adapt to harsh conditions for the creation of new Orcan colonies. However, the Orcans, suspicious of beings capable of such feats, threatened to execute its Corpus creators. But they instead decided it was a necessity and programmed the creatures with the weakness of being poisoned by the Void itself, preventing them from ever making the jump back to the Orcan system and becoming a threat. However, the creature's intelligent thought became sentience, and the sentient declared war on the Orcan. The Orcan themselves, being dependent on technology, were defeated time and time again by the sentient, ever evolving and adapting to whatever the Orcan used against them. The timeline of what happened next is unclear, but the result is not. Orcan experiments had led to the creation of the Infestation, a techno-organic plague that devoured anything in its path regardless of friend or foe. And though designed as an unthinking horde, it displayed traits of groupthink and strategy. It's not clear when exactly the Infestation grew to become a major threat to the Orcan system, but we do know that history calls this event the Great Plague. Either way, not a weapon easily controlled by the Orcan, but not uncontrollable. Orden Karras was a warrior so deadly in battle he was known as the Beast of Bone. Orden slaughtered so many of the Orcan's enemies that they decided to reward his efforts, to become Orcan himself. But he wasn't a Dax soldier loyal to the Orcan. He was a mercenary from a culture that did not value Orcan reward. Orden's plan was to gain the trust of the Orkin in order to get close enough to assassinate them. At his ceremony, he attacked with hidden weapons and killed as many Orkin as he could. However, while he lied dying from his efforts, the Orkin only laughed and applauded. You see, the Orkin had already cheated death with technology, the gift that was meant for him. Executor Bayless decided to deny Orin Kara's death and punished him with eternal existence. His mind became basis of a cephalon, a computer mind enslaved to serve the Orkin's purpose but denied memories. No Orkin would permit a thinking machine. Such things almost destroyed them. The war with the sentients and the infestation outbreak led to more problems for the Orkin. The intellectually stunted Grineer slaves began to favor survival over their own internal programming for work ethic and obedience to the Orkin. Without technology of their own, they slaughtered the weakened Orkin, even taking high-ranking prisoners to operate Orkin ships for them. And in the end, maybe it's no surprise that the clones would be led by a sort of copy. Margulis' efforts were not forgotten, and transference was to be used against the sentient. The Warframes were unleashed, an army of unkillable techno-organic humanoids, piloted by the once outcasted children of the Zarman 10-0. The 10-No, trained in the arts of ancient low-tech weaponry and wielding the very power of the void itself, poison to the sentients. Facing destruction at the hands of the Tenno, the sentient Hun Hao accepts defeat and seeks his revenge. Hun Hao sends an offspring fragment of himself to infiltrate the Tenno enemy. Nata became an ally to the Tenno, but also a sentient spy waiting for the right moment to destroy the Tenno forces from within. At the celebration for the Tenno victory over the sentient, the Tenno unexpectedly slaughtered the Orkin, which brought an end to the Empire. Their motivations were unclear, but quite possibly Nata's doing. The final sequence in Nata's mission was to destroy the Tenno once and for all, but she had an unexpected change of heart. You see, traveling from the Tau system to the Orkin system had poisoned Nata with void energies, making her incapable of reproduction. Nata decided to become the Lotus instead, guide and mother figure to the Tenno, hiding the Tenno children away in the second dream, and putting the Warframes into cryosleep. But unfortunately, the echo of the Orkin's ambition ripples into the present. The Grineer slave clones constantly growing into an unchecked force in the system under the leadership of the Twin Queens. The Corpus have become greedy masters of trade and commerce. The nightmarish infestation spreading uncontrollably on Eris and aboard abandoned vessels adrift in space. Even the sentient threat looms on. The Tenno cannot sleep forever.